got some for you. Oh yeah. I got some for you, boy. You hear me, boy?
Yeah, you motherfucker.
It's funny. I thought I died on my front porch rocking chair. Go on. Finish it. No. Killing you won't accomplish anything. But letting you live. Making you answer the shit you've done. That's where the change begins.
Besides, you gotta figure, being a wild, racist cop's gonna make you real popular on the cell block.
I know people. I know powerful people. I ain't going nowhere.
Damn. That's what they gonna do on a cell block. When the lights out, you gonna wake up. Yep. About that time, boy.
Come on, come on. I think it's about time we get the hell out of St. Clair Parish.
Y'all ain't gonna stop looking for Slim. Ought to head on to my day. Them boys are coming up on us. Slim is losing his friends fast. Got company on our ass. They ain't shit. Shake 'em. We got more deputies. Don't you let them fuckers trash my car. Got company on our ass.
All units, search is called off. Repeat, abandoned search. Return to patrol.
We should get on up back to my dad's place. He gonna be happy to hear about Slim.
He will not, Roxy.
Be a hell of a lot better when we get Slim Bowman under lock and key. You did real good, Lincoln Clay. Just park us up ahead. Watch the paint, watch the paint!
Where do you want Slim?
Go and check in with my dad. He need to know what's going on.
Sooner or later, you're gonna have to learn how to duck. Oh my. Still breathing. His ass is out in the garage. Roxy handle herself all right? She was better than all right. The girl is bad, LeBeau. Well, you did your part. So you're gonna stick around when you lose your help. Just saying. You always got a place for this thing. It was nice seeing you again, LeBeau. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to live your life again. Don't forget that.
Come in.
Hey, and now, just wanted to say. You okay?
Yeah. So. Actually, no. I ain't okay. Part of me wonders if any of this gonna even matter. We take out that motherfucker Slim, and all I see is pain, ugliness in the world.
Someone once told me, if all you look for in the world is evil, it's all you ever need to see. Truth is, Roxy LeBeau, you are one of the brightest lights I've ever known. Don't let the world take that away from you.
Dance.
Yeah, it's about that time, Lincoln.
I don't really think.
You ain't get no action since we got home.
Okay. Maybe just one.
My boy found love.
If I'm so black, then what are you?
I'm not sure I should answer that.
You sell yourself too short. You do. You think all you got is pretty false. But there be a light inside you too, Lincoln Clay.
How you know that?
Yeah. Dancing.
Roxy.
Yes! My boy found love. Spit that thing on him. Spit that thing on him. that shit. I like it. I like their missions. We'll do one more. One more for the chat. Oh my God, so many missions in this bitch. These missions I get close to Roxy.
Lock down the boat. You think you did one thing. Now, you did a good job with Slayer. The feds have him, but he's doing his damnedest to change that. But all that evidence, it's the start. More folks in Sinclair need to speak up. They can't, the sheriff's department, whoever else is terrorizing us. Where can I start? I can point you to some concerned citizens in Sinclair. Let me see what I can do to help. Thank you. Help them, and we'll be a step closer to keeping Slim Beaumont behind bars.
I don't give a fuck about the Nightcrawler. That's her shit.
I'm in the body.
My car.
On a line. Just getting her warmed up.
Oh man, no more Roxy missions.
One car is promised. Appreciate it.
Nothing's gonna come my way, so I'm just gonna sit on the
What?
Christian Remus, Esquire. And you're Lamont's acquaintance. Mind the mess. I understand you can help me get my Blanche back.
Blanche, your woman? What's Slim wrong with her?
Well, you see, I've had occasion to perform legal services for Chef Beaumont, along with some not-so-legal services.
Now, Slim's afraid you'll talk, but he doesn't want you dead.
Which is why his thugs kidnapped my Blanche. See, they're keeping her over in the scrapyard, the one that got blown up.
I know it.
Save her. Save her, and I'll sing like a proverbial canary.
I need some motherfuckers wiped out.
You got it. We'll be around shortly.
Another lamb. Another lamb to slaughter. Killed another one. Kill that motherfucker.
Suspicious person on foot. Responding unit investigate.
I think I see the suspect.
Suspect still alive. Additional units responding.
We ain't got time for who or when. Go out the back way. Christian's waiting for his place.
Get those assholes. All right?
Help me out with some new wheels.
On that line. Just getting her warmed up.
One car is promising. Appreciate it.
All units, pursuit is called off. Abandon search and return to patrol. Repeat, pursuit is called off. Abandon search and return to patrol.
Figure you be in the wind by now.
Well, there's a 2 o'clock train ticket with our names on them. Fake names, of course.
But you tested that.
If it means not having to look over my shoulder for the rest of my life, yeah. Yeah, I'll testify.
Take care of it now.
That mission was whack. A cop didn't call me a nigger or nothing. Alright, let's see. Which one of justice? A local preacher cover. See what you could do that. Oh shit, oh shit. Don't call him, don't call him, don't call him, don't call him, don't call him. I'll be out by the time you go, bitch ass.
Available units, suspicious individual and vehicle. Officers investigate. All units, pursuit is called off. Abandon search and return to patrol. Repeat, pursuit is called off. Abandon search and return to patrol.
The king of the road.
Welcome, friend. We are a congregation open to all. I'm Lavol's friend. Christ, man. We don't get too many colored folks in these parts. Southern Union sees to that.
Yeah, those assholes have their hooks in Sinclair.
Oh,
Sorry.
fuck it. It's Slim's doing. He's in lockup, but he figures if he lets the Southern Union loose, he'll keep Sinclair alive.
Keep folks quiet. You want somebody to mix it up. Make it hard for the Southern Union to operate.
We'll find rallies going on at the Sinclair Trailer Park and the old farm. I believe you are an instrument of justice, and I pray you can convince them to leave my people be.
Probably will be able to do it, and I understand, you know, I'm very sharp in those.
Ah, shit. The clan. Now that's the mission I want. How far, y'all? I get to kill the clan. Key in the road. Key in the road. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it was a clan. Now, that's how I have fun by myself.
Probably should have a first class blue collar work ethic and how we coach our business. Pressure, we all feel a little pressure in this business, but I look forward to meeting yourself.
I love killing the clan. It makes me sick. Ain't no way he died, bro.
automatically. That's the life of the company. Thankfully, we never transition into what the eyes of us reducing the process.
Hold your horses, I'll get to you.
Move that out with the film, most of the time. But now, every day, culture is what all that more about the let's still culture right?
Here's your power box. Appreciate it.
That time, you can go Patreon, and information on close.
I need some motherfuckers wiped out.
Can you help me out with some new wheels? I'm fucking flattered. I couldn't drive it, my life depended on it. Try me later.
So where did you go? How much is too much to the game?
I had a buddy train right Scott was telling me the other day. Sure we got rest.
So you can see we can have this in the most successful. We don't go coach you right into the same point like I coach you right into the game. Because they lack of the property. Sean Bank came from football and he ran back.
I feel really healthy. I feel very grateful to be able to go into year 9. My little boy Jordan, what a joy he is. My wife Ron, I always talk about what it's like right before him. It's such a blessing. It's your best man, and different things are occurring in your life that feel like when you apply, as a husband, as a father, oh by the way, that also can help you be a better football coach, a better connector, build more meaningful relationships, really impact. And you and I talked about it.
Southern Union won't be bothering your people anytime soon. I think they saw the light.
Work their asses is what you say. Thank you, sir. And thank LeVeaux for all he's trying to do around here.
From your mouth to God's ear.
Go in peace, Mr. Clay.
I like it.
I used to think it was cool to try to go 18 out. But you know what that is? It's called getting done. Because the words right there couldn't be more perfect because it's a dumb decision and it makes you dumb. One culture is just look at the science behind the title. We talk about a 40-second pet clock and the exhausted brain versus the sleep brain. Research is actually numb. It'll fix your emotion. You don't have people panicking on their headset, screaming and yelling at each other and taking everything personal. And I can see the thing just one piece. Because for a lot of folks, even when they get sleep, even when they rest, their mind doesn't really cut off. So they always on, always in. You work the old business, you know what this is like. Maybe they or you have been hit every weekend, but eventually the pain will become too much. So you gotta start to learn how to offload. People completely get rid of it. Can they? One of the nicest coaches of all time who had a big heart and was emotionally available all the time. While that's bad, quality, like any other problem, it of course comes with problems. Stress dies a lot more easily than people. There is a self-explanatory. But a lot of people thought it was the internet cats who started the whole burnout. Certain NFL coaches have double teamed way before we other coaches. After 4 straight playoff appearances in 2 rounds, 1978 to 1981, Vanderbilt ultimately coaching with this 46 club. He's then retired for the next 15 years. But the Lucky Club cited burnout as the primary reason. Like the stress of it all was just too much. So if you're a really open person or a empathetic person, we have to really be careful with the feedback we take in. We have to really be careful trying to solve everybody's problems in a line to where you're at. So all of the folks we talked about so far, pretty much all of them do learn how to come down. And at this point, I'm completely self-less because it keeps slipping out. And I can't help but feel like, wow, this is a big issue in NFL culture. It's the same issue that we all began range. A paradox that nobody seems to solve for any real stretch of time. Is it even really possible to devote yourself fully to a demanding career and a family? And oh, by the way, take care of yourself. I mean, y'all, just 100% you can go and work while a lot of modern careers might not be as good as NFL head coach. You still ain't leaving a whole lot of percentages around. So now, and I'm trying to think of a coach who's figured this out and balanced it without success in football and his family and still took care of his personal well-being. That such man being Coach Tony Dungy. But to understand Dungy, you gotta understand the man who shaped Tony Dungy as a coach. So real quick, let's go back and check out Chuck Noll. 4 Super Bowl, highly successful. His philosophy was to hold their opposite with respect over the top of any profession, especially coaching. Bill was cool, bro. He made his assistants leave work early. One time a week, go play ball. Like, get out of here. Go find a high pressure scientist. That he would have family days at the team game. His core philosophy was simple and really refreshing. Don't make football your whole life. Tony Dungy played for Chuck, and later on he coached under Chuck. So all that time to simply say he absorbed that philosophy. He really got cooking golf 1 time a week. But he carried that philosophy as a whole career. So if anybody going to achieve balance, it had to be him. And when the coach built their new stadium in 2008, Bill had a dream job, a brand new stadium, and one of the best quarterbacks of a whole generation. He had added to that Chuck Noll's philosophy, and he was still deeply considering retiring. His best-selling book, Fight and Struggle, is literally about what it actually takes to prioritize faith and book. In that book, bro, even Tony Dungy had a book with his whole coaching identity around balance, still really struggling to balance. Here's what he said. For me, it wasn't about the pressure of coaching. It was a sense that you had so many things that people to take care of that you don't always take care of yourself. That was the thing. You got time constraints, you got staff, and you got players in the game. Then you got family, kids in the life. And you're trying to do the best that you can. And then when it comes to, well, I need to take care of myself, or I'm not feeling great, or I need to see a doctor, you can't. Pretty soon you stop worrying about yourself, and you just let yourself up. So be the head coach. I'm not going to say it's impossible. They seem pretty good. And we're harder on coaches. When we come to that profession, I think maybe we ought to have a little more appreciation. Because most of the grind ends up taking place in dark rooms and hours that we probably knocked out. When they make that decision to go for it on four, we pop up out of our bed and we call it. But the biggest one is that a lot of us can really relate in our own way. We don't just like to pursue that impossible idea that we all call balance. We know that that's right. We're probably there enough. You got work, family. If you get it all to me, you got yourself. You gotta take care of it too. And it's crazy because it seems simple on the surface until you actually make a real mistake. And you realize you're not just balancing 3 categories because each one is made up of a dozen moving parts. Family alone breaks down into life, kids, self, and then you got the collective. And if you're not right physically, spiritually, or mentally, you ain't gonna be no better than the same other people. And then inside of the kids go fracture with your life. And the whole family don't feel that. And the kids get older, we all got unresolved issues. The whole family dynamics still going to be. So each one of them micro categories needs to be balanced to balance the whole category. You gotta do the same thing for all these other categories. Like, bro, it's all perfect balance. Probably isn't ever truly achieved. And until you stay as close as you possibly can by constantly calibrating all of these smaller components. Let's be real, bro. That can be exhausting. But just like the NFL coaches, we all come to the same temporary solution. 9 times out of 10, we take every shortcut when it comes to balancing out our centers. Man, I'm tired. Drink more coffee. Man, I'm stressed. More alcohol. Man, I'm sick. Just power through. Oh, I need to get a shake. Just get a prescription. It would take the leftover points that we come from ourselves and put almost all of them into work. We take a couple of leftovers, sprinkle them in the family, and we end up with a chart that looks something like this. So what do we do? That is, bro, I don't have a great solution for it other than most basic things that I'm about to list out. I'm like a version of those things that are more restrictive. You gotta get your truck drivers up there. Buddy over there with the newborn. The reality is there's gonna be seasons in your life and you won't be able to operate at a peak capacity. Ironically, I've been bouncing the town these last 30 days. The reason is still to my ears sound like crap. My energy is like, and I don't feel good. And I did take my own advice. And I was going to try to cut for the video 2 days. I see it all, we chill and we get a little bit better when we come back to the reality. Like, I can't wait forever. Y'all let it be done. Whatever it is, so a perfect balance is probably understanding. It's important that we don't give up. Find a way to get as much sleep as you can. Find time to get to the gym or figure out a whole workout. To do a content creator satisfying by me. Make sure you get outside in the sun. It's also probably good to separate the light from me for you to become self-capacity. See, one of the hardest things to function is conscious. It's spending time investing in your lives. Time with your mind is free to breathe. I think that's the greatest weapon is prayer. And if you're one of those cats that can't turn off your brain, you're like me, everything's video idea, like book idea, a show to be made. Oh, if you need it, it's like, brain, shut up. What if we sit here and watch One Piece for 2 hours? What if we turn on the Chosen and cry for 2 hours? Not even hiding, no food. Pick up Pickleball. And when your curtains is up, you make your boy late. The most important thing, you have to reach your identity outside. I know it's men, that's natural. I still struggle with it. I've gotten a lot better. Even with results. I'm a lot with God, which puts everything into a natural respect. Because he already called me to rule my own body, take care of my family, love my wife, raise my kids. Like, it's all there. And when it comes to my career, I glorify him through that. And I don't just mean when I'm directly talking about. I'm talking about when I'm researching, when I'm writing, when I'm running into camera. So the whole kid all together. Because he gave me the ability to be able to do this. That's what put me in a position to be able to do this. So when I'm doing it, I'm doing it to the best of my ability. Still be able to recognize that this ain't my whole life. That's how I do things now. We put things in perspective and pursue that. That's what I mean. We forget. Y'all got any methods that be working for you? Put them in the comment section. I'll love some. I don't know. So you asked me what I would say to him. Then I'll probably just fall in his arms and give him a hug, man. There's no words that I can tell him. I was really thinking about getting creative into the music. A lot of people don't know that it's Chad Baker beats and I've been around 2003-ish. But before that, the first single that I came off Atlas, it wasn't that big. It was to come. Anyway, this video wasn't quite as crazy as I ended up moving a couple different directions. I wasn't all maybe overlap in my mind. I feel like I could have just stayed with that. Like, the structure kind of felt like a viral style of Warner mixtape. Meanwhile, with the album on Ozzy, the front you can feel a little or not like not authentic, but I try to get like a certain balance. Because if you're too authentic, you can't really follow what you're talking. Anyway, but hopefully the message is take care of yourself so you can take care of the people you love. And it is such a crazy for you to be quite on a few seasons. You're not able to rest as much as you would like. When you get a season of rest and this amount of rest, that's good. Today's video is sponsored by Manscaped. In my Le'Veon Bell video, I spoke about how football players' legacies and the way they're perceived constantly changes throughout their career. It's almost never actually stone. They instead swing up and down, season to season, and sometimes game to game, like the game stock market. Well, throughout D'Angelo Hall's career, his stock leveled out over time after an early rise to prominence, and he honestly held pretty steady for a long time until this happened. This one play in practice changed the way people look at him. And I can't lie, man, after 14 years in the league, to be judged off this one moment is pretty damn tough. But that's the game. D'Angelo Hall used the chip on his shoulder to overcome his 5'10" stature. His hyper-aggressive style of play became a great weapon, a psychological sword that D'Angelo once wielded with supreme skill. But Father Time once saw that every great warrior reaches a point in their lives where it's finally time to put the sword down and walk away. Despite that fact, we've seen war-torn sports heroes on numerous occasions seek to defy death as they stubbornly pick up the old sword and shield and charge out onto the battlefield for one final cry, only to be easily dealt with by a younger, hungrier player looking to earn stripes off whatever's left of the old day. And to be completely fair to quote-unquote warriors like D'Angelo, those of us who didn't use that blade before our own greatness could never truly fathom how difficult it would be to win that. Be it as it may, we see it time and time again. Live by the metaphorical sword, die by the metaphorical sword. You have to adapt. But if you're unable to do that one day, you discover that your great weapon of triumph actually has two equally sharp edges. For his confidence, aggressive nature, trash talking, refusal to back down from anybody, made him a first-round pick, a three-time Pro Bowler, and a holder of multiple NFL records. But at the same time, his overconfidence, over-aggressive nature, and unsolicited trash talking, refusal to back down from anyone once he got a bit older, also put a target on his back and led to what's probably his most memorable moment for a lot of NFL fans. I personally think this is kind of criminal because while I wouldn't say D'Angelo Hall was ever the best corner in the league, he was definitely one of the better corners in the tournament. One of my personal favorite corners to watch, especially when he was matching up against the top tier receiver. And anytime I bring him up in the argument, all people ever point to is this moment. Now, later in the video, we're going to get into what may have led to this moment. And respectfully, because, again, I'm a big fan of D'Angelo, he probably had this coming, and you'll see what I mean later in the video. But before we talk about that D'Angelo Hall, what we're not going to do is forget about this D'Angelo Hall. True to show him some love music. During his 14 seasons in the NFL, D'Angelo Hall had many moments of brilliance. Dude would play press man coverage with some of the game's best, and his competitive spirit always made those matchups so fun to watch. Dude once picked off 4 passes in a single game, and is tied for the most fumble return yards in NFL history. His brash nature and unflappable confidence may have actually been a bit of a necessity, especially once you consider the fact that he played in an era of dominance. Basically, wide receiver who would toast defenders and then let everybody know about it. D'Angelo Hall came up battling these dudes, a lot of the time in single play, and in a time when you had to compete not only physically, but mentally and verbally as well. D'Angelo held his own in all 3 aspects for over a decade in the toughest league on the damn planet, from his high school and college dominance to his NFL rise and fall. Today we discuss what happened to D'Angelo Hall. Accidental rhyme, y'all know what time it is. True. It's a new year, and that means it's time for a review. So maintain your momentum this year by playing your best, and we all know that starts with looking your best. Football players know this one. Look good to play with. That's why Manscaped is hooking you up with the best tools and motivations that are specifically designed for men. And it's a lot to like over at Manscaped.com, including the Performance Package 4.0. That's your all-in-one, head to toe, men's grooming device kit. Now check it out. Some of y'all already know about the Lawnmower 4.0. And if you're real, this thing is good enough to be used as a beard trimmer, so you got a brand new fresh out the box. But it's specifically designed with the skin safe tech so that you can use it on the most sensitive parts of your body to shoot out for consent. Now it's waterproof and it's got this built-in LED light for that precision. I say it all the time, but this thing is perfect for use in the shower. Now they also have the weed whacker. Now this is a no ear hair trimmer. and it's actually got the same skin safe tech as the Longboard Pro. Now, the performance package for the no kit also comes with your proper reviver and reserve. These are just basically toner and deodorant to keep you fresh throughout the game. So when you choose the performance package for the no kit, you get the best bang for your buck. Also, you can enroll in a peak hygiene plan and get ongoing replenishment so you can try that to the insurance. Plus, for a limited time, only you get two free gifts, one of which you can see right here. This is the Shed Travel Kit. So you get that, and you also get the Manscaped Entertainment Box Breeze as well. So start your year off right. Go to manscaped.com for 20% off, plus free international shipping, plus the two free gifts when you use promo code FILMNUT20 at checkout. Again, that's manscaped.com/FILMNUT20, or you can just click the link in the description and use code FILMNUT20 at checkout. Shout out to Manscaped once again for sponsoring the video. Now, you might have a hard time recognizing this kid as future Pro Bowl cornerback D'Angelo Hall, but his older brother Kevin helped transform a quiet video game-loving kid into a beast of an athlete. But Kevin was sadly shot multiple times on the street when D'Angelo was still just a kid. Still, the lesson that he taught didn't go unheeded. As a young D'Angelo would keep going, eventually finding more heroes than adults. D'Angelo Hall grew up in the Chesapeake, Virginia area at a time when lots of players from there were blossoming into stars and some even icons. Legends like Allen Iverson and Michael Vick gave Virginia kids like D'Angelo a sort of North Star to follow. We're talking about D'Angelo being a kid, he's seeing superstars blossom from 30 minutes down the street, you know? They can do it. So could D'Angelo. Now, based on his own words, D'Angelo Hall never been a great high school player. He said that despite playing both sides of the ball and posting 1,300 yards as a senior running back, not to mention scoring 30 touchdowns, all while averaging 10 yards per carry, that he didn't feel he was a great player. On defense, the future NFL corner had 7 picks as a junior and 9 picks as a senior. The senior year, he also recorded over 100 tackles and helped lead his team to the state title game. He was named Player of the Year by multiple publications and ranked as the #2 best player in the state of Virginia. So when he says he was a good high school player but not a great one, I have to assume he's comparing himself to those icons that he watched growing up. Because by damn near anybody's standards, he was a great high school player. I don't know what you're talking about. And I do want to say, in researching this video, I found some things in D'Angelo's character that I think will catch a lot of people off guard. And one of those things, I hope it gets crazy when I say this, humility. Now, it's gonna sound crazy to some of y'all using a word like humility to describe a guy who was once nicknamed D'Angelo for his quote-unquote selfish play. While D'Angelo does show up throughout his career, I kind of found it refreshing that on more than one occasion, when it comes to assessing his own play, unlike some cats who blame everybody else for their shortcomings, D'Angelo never really shied away from taking accountability onto himself. Like, he was tougher on himself than pretty much anybody else. He actually called himself out multiple times in his career, even saying after a bad string of games in 2011, the way I'm playing right now, it didn't even cut it, because I'm definitely not worth it again. Fun fact, the very next game after he made that statement, dude went all for one defensive player of the week. Giving some credence to the old Einstein quote goes, success comes from curiosity, concentration, perseverance, and self-criticism. You gotta be able to look in the mirror and pick out your flaws. It's the only way you can improve. As a shorter player early on, D'Angelo developed a trademark chip on the show. The same chip that would one day write a couple of checks that his game for no longer cash was actually the only reason there was ever any money in the bank to begin with. Dude developed the necessary psychology to play the position at a high level. That, along with track speed, was well. He accepted a scholarship offer to Virginia Tech, quickly impressed his college teammates and coaches in the preseason stream of conditioning tests. Dude ran a 4.37 as a 17-year-old freshman, bench pressed 300 pounds. For a strong freshman cornerback, that's extremely impressive. And I know the 4.37 is hand time or whatever, but I don't care about it. He eventually parlayed that athletic ability into a starting role as a true freshman, even intercepting a pass in his very first college game. By the time he was done at Virginia Tech, D'Angelo had put together a Hall of Fame career in the school, and he would officially be inducted. Like, he was almost more of a weapon than a traditional corner, playing and making plays in all 3 phases of the game. In 3 seasons, Duke recorded 190 tackles, 8 picks, had 2 forced fumbles, and scored 5 punt return touchdowns. recorded the third most punt return yards ever in the Big East. Plus, he scored both a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown on offense. Neither dude actually scored a touchdown on defense, offense, and special teams. So if he was on the field, he was a threat to get in the end zone at any time. By the time he was 20 years old, the NFL had been calling. D'Angelo once again proved the legitimacy of his speed by running a 40-yard dash in 4.34 seconds. Now it was an official time. In 2004, the Atlanta Falcons, who already had one Virginia Tech star, decided to grab another. This time for the other side of the ball. They took D'Angelo Hall with the 8th overall pick in 2004, and he quickly paid it back by becoming the youngest player ever to return an interception for a touchdown. Only about a month after he turned 21, Bro Lou ended up making his first Pro Bowl in year 2 of his career, not wasting any time acclimating to the NFL. And by the time he was 22 years old, Lou was matching up one-on-one with cats like T.O., Steve Smith, Reggie White, and Donald Driver. And some of y'all sleeping on Donald Driver. That's okay. You don't give me that video eventually, because I gotta learn you. Lou was a beast. Back to the story. Now look, ain't no corner really about to walk into the matchups and just walk out unscathed. Like D'Angelo played well enough to come away with 10 pass deflections, 6 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery in year 2. And like I said before, he ended up making it into the Pro Bowl. A place that always seemed to just bring out the best in D'Angelo, which does kind of make you wonder, had he been a part of more competitive teams throughout his career, what would that version of D'Angelo Hall have looked like? You know what I'm saying? It's a mystery. The following year, D'Angelo carried all that momentum from the previous Pro Bowl into the season. But before too long, he was pretty much all of it. Man went off in the first 5 weeks of the season, catching 4 picks in 5 games. All in the defense that only allowed 1 defensive touchdown throughout that entire span. But here comes the negative. After that hot start, D'Angelo Coleman, with creating turnovers being such a huge part of his game. Once those kind of slowed down, Lou really began to get more, which would lead to big plays for opposing offense. But despite that, he still made it second Pro Bowl this year. And it kind of reminds you of the season Diggs just had. Forcing the most turnovers, but also giving up the most yards. That's not like a knock at either player, but would I really be doing my job if I didn't at least draw that ball over? Y'all like, come on, I gotta point it out. D'Angelo was a big hit with fans, as dude had developed rivalries with pretty much any big name wide receiver in the face. But 2 of the more notable were T.O. and Chad Johnson. Now the rivalry with Chad was a bit more friendly, trash talk, and showmanship. And y'all know how extra this man could be at times. But it always felt like friendly competition because it was pretty much impossible to dislike Chad. But the one with T.O., that one seemed a little bit more intense. These dudes had a real disdain for each other, and they used to really battle it out on the field. But despite that, these two have really patched things up on football. And unlike some of these cats that be holding sports grudges from 30 years ago, like, bro, you just stressing yourself out for nothing. Like, nobody cares. Like, yo, these two have done the mature thing. They moved on from that now. And this thing they felt for each other, they realized, look, it's just us being competitive. That's over with. Now we can respect one another. That's pretty much where we at. I think that's right. 04 when D'Angelo was drafted, the Falcons thought he could be the cornerstone to the defense the same way Michael Vick was the cornerstone to the offense. But only 4 years later, both of the Virginia Tech stars had fallen under grace from the team. D'Angelo was vilified in the media for showing support for Michael Vick, which I do feel is a very good reality. He didn't come out in support of what Vick did, but he also didn't throw him under the bus. I was basically just showing Mike that he still had love on the team, something that I'm sure Vic appreciated during that period of time. Like, how many of y'all are prepared to publicly bash a guy who's not only a teammate or friend, but a cat who literally inspired you to get to where you are? A guy from the same area who you idolized for most of your life. Everybody from street dudes to police officers generally protect their home, at least public. So an athlete's good, to me, pretty much just seems wrong.
I wish you guys safe before it gets delicious. You don't have any kids. Not yet.
Following the Michael Vick controversy, the Falcons ended up trading D'Angelo to the Raiders for a second and a fourth-round pick. We all know how much the late, great Al Davis loves speed and attitude, so D'Angelo seemed like a perfect fit. So perfect, in fact, that the Raiders decided to sign a 24-year-old corner to a 7-year, $72 million contract. We're talking basically $10 million a year, and this is 15 years ago. Okay, that was big, big money. In his first 8 games with the Raiders, D'Angelo Hall caught 3 picks, made 13 pass deflections, 48 tackles, forced a fumble, and recorded a sack. Then immediately following those 8 games, he got cut. Yeah, did you see that? So D'Angelo Hall signed on to play 112 regular season games with the Oakland Raiders, but only 8 games into that, after a 2-6 start, the Raiders approached their new cornerback that they just signed, and they asked him, you know what they asked him, they wanted me to take a pay cut. Like, damn, I just started this deal 2 months ago, and you want me to restructure? Nah, I'm not doing that. Now, D'Angelo's box score stats that I read on earlier were pretty damn solid. Apparently, his aggressive style was constantly leaving him exposed, and he was just giving up too many big plays. According to one article, D'Angelo started the year off struggling to adapt to the Raiders system, but had seemed to be getting the hang of things in recent weeks. Despite that, the Raiders felt like they'd seen enough. With his refusal to restructure the contract that they just gave him, they decided to release their 24-year-old star. See, D'Angelo was supposed to form a deadly duo with Nnamdi Asomugha, another forgotten player who I covered in one of these videos a few years ago. But when the duo didn't mesh right away, the Raiders hit the panic button and they pulled the plug. Of the $72 million that D'Angelo was supposed to get, he ended up walking away from that situation with only $8 million. Multiple Raiders players spoke out against the hasty move. Both Nnamdi Asomugha and safety Jabril Wilson voiced their displeasure with continue to pay D'Angelo, a guy who Jabril referred to as one of the best players on the team. My thing with this whole situation is you knew his pros and cons as a player when you signed him. So to give up on that whole thing just because bad D'Angelo had showed his face a little bit in those first 8 games, yeah, I can't really rock with that. Regardless, the 24-year-old two-time Pro Bowler rebounded like Dennis Rodman with Hangman. He ended up signing with Washington where he played out the rest of the season, and in only 4 starts, he actually got himself another 2 interceptions and got 8 more pass deflections, making his 2008 season totals look pretty damn good, at least from a statistical standpoint. But after that season ended, D'Angelo made what he calls the biggest mistake of his career. So following the 2008 season, D'Angelo was a free agent, and his 2 primary choices was to return back to Washington, where he fit in really quick, or go to New England to play for Bill Belichick. And ultimately, like these things oftentimes do, it just came down to money. The 6-year, $55 million contract Washington offered was just too damn good of a deal to turn down, as it was pretty clear that D'Angelo was trying to make up for as much of the lost Oakland contract as he could, understandably so. Like when you sign a deal for $72 million, you count that $72 million like you had it. Even though we know how football contracts work, you probably shouldn't do that, but when you sign for $72 million and you walk away with $8 million, my next contract, bro, I'm trying to make up that difference. Like, I just am. But when it was all said and done and he looked back on that situation, he kind of felt a little bit different about it. He's a quote. That time, players didn't take short-term deals. But Randy Moss had just signed a 3-year, $27 million deal with the Patriots. I couldn't believe it. In my own contract discussion with the Pats, I recall Bill Belichick telling me they didn't give me the contract. Moss, being a young and greedy knucklehead, I chose to stay in Washington on a long-term deal. 6 years, $54 million, which ultimately had me making the same per year salary as Moss, for over a few million. I could have changed my legacy, like being a part of my dynasty. I was on the table, and I wish I would have made the decision to take those money and play for Belichick. I feel him on that, and I like when guys care about their legacy. I know some people frown on that, but for me, it's like it's the only thing that's gonna remain after you're done. Your legacy, that's everything. Of course, with that said, there's no guarantees that signing with the Patriots would have won him the Super Bowl. Because you got to remember, he had the opportunity to sign with the Patriots following the 2008 season. And the Patriots didn't end up winning another Super Bowl until 2015. Because talking 7 whole seasons later. So by then, a 24-year-old D'Angelo would have been 31 years old. So the chances that he would even still be on the team are actually pretty slim. Just considering the fact that he was getting up in age, he actually had a really bad injury and ACL tear in 2014. And y'all know how Belichick moves, man. He'll cut or trade your ass in a heartbeat. Still, at the same time, it's kind of fun to think what would have happened if D'Angelo Hall was on the field for this play in Super Bowl 46, a game that was played in 2012, a season where D'Angelo was actually pretty damn good for Washington and may have been able to make the 1 or 2 big plays the Patriots needed to get over the hump in that game. But unfortunately, we'll never know. Moving on. Hypotheticals aside, D'Angelo played the rest of his career with Washington, basically playing 10 years there, a whole second career after the first one in Atlanta. During that time, he made another Pro Bowl in 2010. And remember how I said being around all those great players always seemed to bring out the best in you? After all the time passed, that still had not changed, which D'Angelo proved by winning Pro Bowl MVP that year. Actually, earlier in that same season, Dude tied an NFL record when he picked off Jay Cutler 4 times in the same game, one of which he took 92 yards the other way for a touchdown. Dude even joked when he retired that if he had played Jay Cutler a little bit more, he'd probably be a Hall of Fame. And even the biggest smoking Jay Cutler fan out there can admit that's pretty damn hilarious. So from 2004 to 2013, D'Angelo Hall was one of the better corners in the league. We could count on Dude to play aggressive. We could go ahead and pencil him in for multiple picks every season. But in 2014, everything changed. And we're about to see how this legacy-altering play could have actually been avoided. So D'Angelo Hall only played 3 games in 2014 due to the fact that he tore his ACL in week 3. But one of the games that he did play in was this one. A loss to the Houston Texans, and quarterbacks moved. It was going to be a long day when Andre Johnson came to town. Some more than others, but I digress. And don't worry, kids, Portland fans, you ask for this. But that Texans team was a little bit different than Texans of the year prior. Because now, in addition to Andre, they also had DeAndre Hopkins, a young pup in week 1 of only his 2nd NFL season. Somebody that D'Angelo may have described as still wet behind the ears. And look, man, the wily vet was determined to establish his dominance with the young receiver. And it's funny because DeAndre did have some moments in this game where his youth really showed. Old heads at the time like Ryan Clark was coming down, forcing him to drop passes, and D'Angelo was in his space every damn play. They was on it. At one point, D'Angelo grabs just a little baby D-Hop, man, by the helmet and tosses it after he had already made the tackle on the man. Was it unnecessary? Yes. Was it entertaining? Yeah. Like, he really tried to bully Dude in that game. But despite all of that, D-Hop actually still had a really solid outing. He complimented Andre Johnson well with 4 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. But despite that, he had a very long, very difficult, very physical day, and Dude just got bullied a lot throughout that game. And even though D-Hop seemed like he really wasn't out searching for smoke, D'Angelo kept bringing it to him over and over. Now today, you see a lot of older corners kind of complimenting the young dynamic receivers before they have to go up against him. Why? Because nobody really wants to end up like this 1 or 2 years before retirement. Most cats, especially at corner, that's got to be the hardest position to play once you start to age. But most cats, they're just trying to get the last couple of bags before they walk away. They're not trying to start nothing personal with these young receivers. That'll make you look crazy. But D'Angelo took a different approach. He'd always been hyper aggressive. This wasn't anything new, so he did his standard thing. He tried to bully and embarrass a young D-Hop, something that the budding superstar receiver wouldn't soon forget. So remember, that was week 1 of the 2014 season. So after that game, the season goes on. And you see something very interesting with the 2 players. D-Hop shoots up and D'Angelo shoots down because he's injured. But while he bet D'Angelo Hall ends up getting injured on the young pup that he bullied in week 1, he ends up slowly coming into his own. By the end of that year, while his agent Andre Johnson was still a dog, don't sleep on him. But it was a young D-Hop who was now the Texans' leading receiver. Okay, fast forward through the offseason into the 2015 training camp, the Texans get Hard Knocks. And as fate would have it, they schedule a scrimmage against Washington. So Andre Johnson signs a deal with the Colts. So now it's D-Hop's team. He's the lead receiver, no question. Now when you're a 32-year-old quarterback in your 11th season, no reasonable person is expecting you to block up the young guns. Not a corner. Unless you literally tell that young gun to his face that that's exactly what you would do if you were guarding him. Once you do that, you're pretty much on your own. Like, may the odds be ever in your favor, bro. Good luck. Here's the quick rundown of how it played out. So DeAndre is carving up Washington's defense with his usual physical style of play. But after DeAndre sauces up this dude, despite him dropping his pass, everybody in practice knows he just dominated his rep. And if you need a little bit more evidence, notice the corner being super extra in an attempt to deflect the fact that he had nothing to do with just the completion of his play. Corners do this often as a method of keeping their confidence high despite losing reps. A slightly annoying but very effective tactic for, keeping your psychology in the right place. This is where the subject of this video inserts himself into the situation. Maybe he's just looking to take up for his teammate. But D'Angelo jumps in and cuts off D-Hop on his way back to Harden, puts his hand slightly into D-Hop's chest and says, "You do that."
Blue Buffalo started with a promise to feed our dog Blue the highest quality ingredients, and it lives on in every bowl you fill.
Promise to keep those friends.
Whatever, but he gets cut off when DeAndre flips out as he feels that touching him after the play just crossed the line. And the last time D'Angelo touched him after the play, he did this to dude. So even if you rock with D'Angelo like I do, you can kind of understand D-Hop's reaction. When disagreement ensues, the drama intensifies. So we've already talked about the fact that D'Angelo is 32 years old, in his 11th season, playing the cornerback position. Disadvantage number one. So in a lot of cases, that would actually garner some sympathy from the audience. But the fact that, from what we see, D'Angelo starts his entire thing. Like, he inserts himself into this. Not to mention the year before, we saw how he was doing this. So it's like, damn, D'Angelo, you just walked into this, bro. You got to get yourself out. And I'm a fan of both of these dudes. I've talked about D-Hop before on this channel. But his ice cold delivery when he hit him with the "I fear God," like the Hard Knock producers had to be sitting there with the camera like, oh my God, I couldn't have written anything better than that. Like, that's a Hollywood one-liner on the NFL practice. Then came the climax. Later in practice, so like 5 seconds later in the show, thanks to editing, we all get the matchup we've been salivating for. D-Hop versus D'Angelo. One-on-one. Mano-a-mano. Winner take all. D'Angelo gets hit with a rule that he slips. He breaks all the way down. This is about as literal as you can get when you say somebody got their ankle broken playing sports. Like I said before, I got love for D'Angelo. That's why I'm making this video. But the undeniable fact is that he volunteered for the smoke. When he smoked under the cane, the dude didn't stop coughing. So as a DeAndre Hopkins fan, this is one of my favorite moments ever. But as a D'Angelo Hall fan, I wish this never happened, bro. After this moment, D'Angelo took a major hit in fan reception. His legacy stopped with fans, and probably many of his peers took a pretty significant dip. At some point after the fact, D'Angelo took to Twitter to kind of throw some shade at D-Hop. D'Angelo spoke on how easy he felt it was to read D-Hop's routes at the time. While D'Angelo maybe did have the veteran savvy to anticipate D-Hop's routes, this particular situation is kind of like the whole relationship with Harden. If basketball is understood, shot blockers and challenge everything at the rim.